I can't pinpoint the exact moment that I realized that the person that I was seeing in the mirror day in and day out seemed to shift not only just from day to day, but even within a few hours. My body's size, shape, and features, things like my nose, my chin, my lips, would constantly change ever so slightly in my perception. Since my teenage years and throughout my life, my view of my body has lacked consistency. The only constant has been the fluctuation in how I perceive myself. There are days that I see myself as 3 to 4 sizes bigger or smaller, and there's times where I find myself adjusting my movements to fit into spaces that aren't actually too tight. From the ages of 14 to about 25, I have always kind of tended to perceive my body as being bigger than it was. And then from about 26, 27 to now, I have tended to see my body as smaller than it actually is. This shifting perception wreaks havoc on my sense of self, and it tends to undermine my trust in who I am and my experiences. Now, body dysmorphia affects around 2% of the population, but many cases go unreported. Years ago, my therapist had me take a questionnaire to assess whether or not I had been suffering from body dysmorphia. And when I first took the test, it was a really high score, which indicated that I was very likely to be suffering from body dysmorphia. A few weeks ago, I decided it might be interesting if I took the test again, seeing as I was going through this recovery and I felt like a lot of the things that plagued me in the past when I first took the test were no longer happening with such frequency. So I figured, why not? I took the test and the results came back with a very low score in comparison. The likelihood that I had body dysmorphia had lessened significantly. So that kind of made me feel like, maybe this recovery stuff is really, really working. It's having an effect on how I'm perceiving myself. So recovery has been very transformative, reshaping my understanding of myself. Yet, there are moments that I know that even through this recovery, when I'm at my lower points, if I were to take the test, I may not score so low. I may score closer to where I was back then, just because the ebbs and flows of recovery are very real. Managing body dysmorphia as well as recovering from an eating disorder is similar in that you cannot assume that you could ever flip a switch and be cured, let's say. Progress is kind of this winding path of its ups and downs. At this point, I've come to accept that my perception of myself might always be somewhat distorted. But by focusing my energy elsewhere, I realize that the accuracy of my self-perception becomes less significant. Now, body dysmorphia is influenced by a mix of environmental, psychological, and biological factors. It's no surprise that eating disorders often share similar origins. Nearly 1/3 of people suffering from body dysmorphic disorder also experience an eating disorder at some point in their lives. I remember in high school, I used to fantasize about plastic surgery or surgery that would modify my looks. It usually was like a tummy tuck type of situation that I would fantasize about. It was like, oh, if only I could have a tummy tuck, my life would be perfect. Everything would be perfect. It was like what dominated my life, this dream of this perfect body. And it's heartbreaking that those dreams overshadowed all my other aspirations, causing them to kind of fade away, fade into the background. It was something that I didn't give enough energy to because I was so obsessed with the idea that that perfect body would mean that I could do anything. It was the only way that I could do anything that I wanted. The time, energy, and freedom wasted in the pursuit of perfection can still bring me to tears. I often feel like I need to apologize to my younger self, wishing that she knew that all along she was always enough. I like to believe that she hears me even now. From the 7-year-old who was incessantly teased by her brothers for being quote unquote chunky, to the 15-year-old who thought only the thin and beautiful could find true love, to the 21-year-old who felt that she was unworthy of leaving an emotionally and verbally abusive relationship, and even the 29-year-old who believed that she needed to shrink back after having her second baby in order to keep her partner's love. Every version of me is valid. The journey of healing is also theirs too. Managing body dysmorphia and recovering from a binge eating disorder has been harder than I had anticipated. I sometimes doubt my progress, but I keep making these videos and adjusting my thought patterns. I like to think that I really am learning what it means to honor my needs and make space for my wants. If you want to join me on this journey through recovery, subscribe for new videos every Tuesday, sometimes Wednesday. As always, I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I will catch you guys on the next one.